do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Vying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing out there all across this great land of ours and around the world? It is that time. Time for the Conservative Syndicate, globally syndicated, nationally acclaimed, coming to you prime time somewhere, everywhere, all the time. And we're glad to have you with us today, this great day here. New York primary going on right now. And it has kind of, in a way, incited me a little bit today. I want to do some in-depth speculation and analysis today on this whole primary system here, because it's kind of a double-sided sword. It is double-sided in the sense that the illustrious, self-proclaimed good guy, great deal maker Donald Trump is, I think, correct in his assessment that the primaries are, quote-unquote, slanted, rigged, whatever. I don't agree that they're slanted or rigged against him. I think they're slanted and rigged and have been for a long time. But it bears talking about and discussing why is this now all of a sudden an issue. It's not as if those of us in the know haven't known this. And one of the things I'm going to do today, I hope we do today, is just kind of look at briefly how some of the primaries are set up and to understand this whole delegate process. I think what's being, the argument that Trump is presenting right now is very similar to the one that's being presented in terms of doing away with the Electoral College kind of thing. There's check and balance systems that were put into our great republic by our framers, and one of them was state sovereignty, that they could choose their delegates however they chose to do that. So we're going to just kind of dance around with this a little bit today. I'm not here to beat anybody up, but I think it's worth noting that after 200 plus years, all of a sudden the American electorate wants to know how the system works. And I think that's a testimony to the ignorance of the electorate. So I am your host, John Matthews, and I got my co-host, Joe Hakos. How are you doing today, Joe?
I find that hilarious, John. That Rumpelstiltskin, you've woken up from your slumber. Welcome to the 21st century. Yes, it's an election year. Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow. Really? How's this stuff work? Well, it worked the same way it did 4 years ago, and 4 years before that.
That's
hello.
That's the whole thing. We're sitting here now. Let's just kind of just give a real quick overview of what's going on here. 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago, this country elected probably the closest thing we've ever had to a Manchurian candidate. This guy came in with a deeply embedded agenda in him that he'd been raised and mentored in since whatever point in time he decided he wanted to be accepted for being a half white, half black, somewhat American kind of guy. I don't know. I'm saying that not to poke fun at his race, but at his narcissistic overreach. He's kind of like he's overcompensated for low self-esteem by becoming this narcissistic emperor type, that kind of thing. And he came into office basically very little contesting as to who he was. And a lot of it had to do with the media not really vetting him. The public ripe for change, ready to embrace anybody but George Bush kind of thing. was able to come in and present himself as a centralist, clean slate kind of guy who was transparent and was going to unite everybody. You know, we're all going to dance in the land of chocolate drops.
Hope and change.
Yeah. And sing Kumbaya as we changed our national anthem to the Coke commercial, you know, that kind of thing. That's where we were going to go.
To teach the world. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to teach the world to sing. Yeah, okay.
Perfect harmony.
And we'd all wear plaid bow ties or whatever. I don't know how, you know.
Remember that commercial where they go out and this is where I met your grandpa and they go hug a tree. For crying out loud, let's get real. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, here we are, 7+ years down the road here.
Yeah, 7 years, and now nobody knows which bathroom they're supposed to use. I liked your meme there today. That was cool.
well, we now have a candidate who pretty much has been a player in the very establishment that created the Manchurian candidate we elected back in 2008, and this guy is singing the same song. He's singing the same song. Let's make America great again. America first, and I'm going to make America so great you're going to get sick of it, kind of thing.
You're going to be tired of being great. You're going to get tired of whining. Winning.
Yeah. And so what we got? We've got he's got a large base of people out there who have just disregarded their claimed principles. A lot of them being conservatives, quote unquote, self-proclaimed conservatives. And if I've learned anything in this election process, I doubt I can count the number of people on one hand that I have talked to in the past 2 years, or that can actually explain to me what conservatism is. And I'm telling you, I know people in office right now, personally, that when I have asked this question to, I have gotten such a hodgepodge of BS and watered down stuff. It makes my head spin. And so I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about all this today as the media is covering it out there. Fox News is now, I think they ought to just change the name of the channel to Trump News, because that seems to be all they want to talk about. And they're exploring all this, all the latest rancor and raving by Donald Trump about how rigged the process is and everything. And I just got to thinking, well, yeah, we've known this has been rigged for a long time. We know the establishment controls everything. I'm just curious as to why all of a sudden anybody cares about it. There must be a reason why all of a sudden people are enraged. Well, I'll tell you why they're enraged. Because their leader has told them to be enraged, very much like Barack Obama told his sheep back in 2008, where the change we're waiting for. Donald Trump is out there telling everybody on the Republican side, if I don't get elected, let's burn it all down. And so it's what we have seen here, that is two major political parties in which the establishment plays both sides. There is no partisanship in the establishment, believe it or not. And now, all of a sudden, the electorate is being trained or mentored or propagandized into the same thinking process. Rules and regulations don't mean anything if it doesn't give you what you want. So I want to spend some time just having some fun with this. It's not like we're going to change the world overnight. But I think it's worth talking about, the Gruber theorem, the stupidity of the American voter. And in this case, the stupidity of the candidate that's leading this whole thing. I'm beginning to think the smartest guy on the block is Bernie Sanders, because he knows what he believes in. He can't really define it, but there's no mistake. You cannot mistake what this guy wants. He wants a political revolution. He wants the system turned upside down. He wants the government to run and control everything, and he hasn't hidden that. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to have some fun with it. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Supreme Court arguments yesterday. I got some pretty good information on what took place yesterday. Some of the questions that were posed by some of the justices on the bench to the attorneys representing both sides of this argument. So we'll have some fun with that. And if we have time today, we'll break the surface on the Panama Papers. I've really been hesitating to get into the Panama Papers because the more I read about this, this scandal goes deep, far, and wide. I mean, this thing is all over the world, all over the place, and right smack dab in the middle of it are the Clintons and Obama. And I just want to make sure that when I do start talking about it, we have all our ducks in a row here, so you can really understand the depth of the corruption that the Clintons have been able to pull off during the 50, 60 years, whatever, how long they've been in politics. It is amazing. This is it. This is, to me, the mother of all scandals. And when you talk about things like New World Order and all this other stuff, this is how this stuff comes about, through stuff like this. So that's why I hope we get done today. We'll give it our best shot. So anyway, we got to go to our first break here. When we come back, we'll break into the festivities for the day. I'm John Matthews along with Joe Hakos, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, we're back. And if you don't know, you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, and if you're here not knowing who we are, we'll just assume that it's by divine design that you're here. And I am your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, my co-host and partner in crime here. And let's just kind of launch into this little thing here about the Trump tizzy fit here, that's going on right now. And of course, let's just kind of talk about why it's happening the way it's happening. Well, obviously, the obvious reason is that Trump has found yet another issue that allows him to anchor himself on mainstream newscasts. It's just another shiny object that's out there. And when the media coverage gets too small or too low or too quiet, things start to level out a little bit. Some of the other candidates might get a little bit more attention than normal. He comes up with some concocted thing, right-wing. Hey, maybe we can, let's just give him credit for it. Another concocted, vast right-wing, conspiracy to take the election away from him. And, I'm looking at this whole thing, and I'm thinking, what a brilliant strategy. This guy has managed to remain in the forefront of the nominee process the entire election cycle without providing any substance as to how he's going to do anything that he says he's going to do. And I know you Trumpsters out there will try to tell me that he has told us what he's going to do. No, he has not. And I've also heard Trumpsters tell me, well, he's got everything on his website. Well, apparently he's never read his own website. So because I've yet to get anything of any substance out of this guy that tells me, one, how is he going to make America great again? And two, that's number one. Number two is, how is he going to get Congress to go along with him? Because obviously, if it is the establishment that he's fighting, the establishment is not going to go down without a fight. And we need to take this for granted. The establishment is not going to just roll up into a ball and let this guy steamroll into the White House and start becoming the consummate deal maker. That is not going to happen. And it's not going to happen if Ted Cruz gets in there. It's not going to happen if Hillary Clinton gets in there. It's not going to happen if Bernie Sanders gets in there. Certainly ain't going to happen if John Kasich gets in there, because then he won't do anything. So this idea that all of a sudden by putting somebody like Donald Trump in office is going to change the establishment, I think is as delusional as thinking that Barack Obama has brought unity to the country. It's what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, we're unified, all right. Yeah, that's the reason, like you said in a little thing on your Facebook today, after 7 years of Obama, we don't know which bathroom we're supposed to use now. Right,
yeah. I mean, there's so much that has changed, not changed. See, here's the point. This is what keeps driving me. It's like all of a sudden everybody wants to talk about this sudden explosion of liberalism, progressivism, and Obama, his accomplishments as a liberal, progressive, and everything else. And it's like 7 years ago, we're waking up from a 7-year nap, and somebody's looking around going, how did this happen? Well, this didn't happen with Obama. Obama was the guy that was selected to go out and throw as much of this liberal bullcrap against the wall as he could, and let's test it and see how much of it sticks. And I, for one, am just totally flabbergasted at how much has stuck. And it has given us, I think, a major lesson as to what Benjamin Franklin talked about when he responded to Mrs. What was her name? Mrs. Robertson or whatever her name was. Powell. Mrs. Powell, when she said, do we have a monarchy or a republic? He said, you have a republic if you can keep it. And that's really what we're looking at today. I mean, it's prophetic that Franklin, over 200 plus years ago, 235 years ago, was able to utter those words, knowing everything we've given you, it's up to you to keep. And we're now looking at an electorate that is as dumb as they. I mean, I bet you people under tyrannical rule like Russia have more knowledge of the process that goes on in their country. Of course, it's very simplified. You say anything, we blow your head off. But in here in the United States, people are actually voting that have no understanding of anything to do with our government in terms of how it was designed, how it was established, why the system is the way it's system, why is the check and balance seems so complicated at times and so unorthodox. Why do we have an electoral college? Why do the states pick delegates? And why don't we just throw everything into a pot? Why don't we just have, like in the Philippines? In the Philippines, you watch I've been watching the Philippine elections. An interesting lesson on how socialist republics operate. And basically, they throw everybody on the ticket. And there's one election. And the person with the most votes wins. And you can have a president from one party, and you can have a vice president from another party. It doesn't make any difference. So they have tickets, but you don't run on the ticket, meaning whoever wins the president doesn't automatically mean that the vice president will be in his or her party. And it is a lesson in what a socialist republic, how it operates and how it runs. And when you see how these politicians interact with their people, all they do is what party is going to give the most to the people that elect them. It's really, that's how their election process is. And even when you see them out campaigning and the way that they campaign, they're constantly giving away stuff. You know, one of them, the guy that's leading it, I think his name is Duarte or something like that, drives around in his flatbed truck with a canvas over the top, and all of his supporters stand around his truck and they throw crap out to the crowds as they drive through the streets.
Oh, we do that here in this country, too. It's usually at a Christmas parade or something like that, you know?
Yeah, well, they do this political-wise, you know, and that kind of stuff. And then the media over there controls everything because whenever there's a calamity, the media goes into the communities and gives out water and clothes and food, and everybody that's doing it has the church or the station logo on their T-shirt, so everybody knows where it's coming from. The bags that carry the goods have the station's logo printed on them, so everybody knows that you are now indebted to our network because we're providing you help in time of need. And of course, one of the main newscasters there, Karina Sanchez, is the wife of Mar Rojas, who is currently the vice president of the Philippines and is running for president. And how she gets on the airways there. Of course, she's taken a leave of absence during the election process. But she has other shows that are still on the network. And as soon as this election process is over, she'll be back on the air. You have Chris Aquino, the youngest of the Aquinos, who is called the Queen of Media over there. She's an actress. She has a talk show. And she's out campaigning for her friend Mar Rojas. They've had 2 or 3 of their last presidents have been celebrities. Joseph Estrada, I don't know who the other one was before that, but anyway, it's the system that I'm thinking Americans want today. Is that the most popular person, the prom king and queen, should be the ones running the show. Doesn't matter, how many people do we know of? Have you ever heard the stories about people that are most likely to succeed? And they come out of school with the highest grade average. I remember one of my friends on the football team, and he got a scholarship to the Naval Academy, and he was all-American and everything else. And I met him at our 25th class reunion, and this guy, I didn't even recognize him. And as I'm talking to him, I'm like, what are you doing? How did the Naval Academy thing? Well, I washed out of the academy. What are you doing now? I work at Walmart. Like, okay. You know, it's just, I know I sound like I'm rambling a little bit here, but take all these thoughts and kind of put them into a big picture scenario here, and you see what we have is idiocracy. We have created by our own either being deceived, unknowingly deceived, or willfully ignorant, we have become an idiocracy, where it's just who's the coolest guy or gal, that kind of thing. And if not, because we cannot classify Hillary Clinton as cool, but who's got the most bucks? Who's got the most influence? Who will give me the most stuff?
President Dwayne Elianzo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho. That's who.
Yeah. Well, which, by the way, just to give you an example, real quick example, Cecile Richardson. Is it Richards or Richardson? The head of the Planned Parenthood. Cecilia Richardson, is that her name, or Cecilia Richards?
Well, she's the head of that evil organization that kills babies for no good reason.
Yeah, she's had a Clinton rally yesterday.
Hold on a second. Let me look it up, though, since you keep on with your thought. I'll find it.
Okay. Anyway, she makes this statement. Now, only the conservative media picked up on this. She makes a statement. Voting to, let's see, if you're a woman...
Richards.
If you're a woman and you vote for Ted Cruz, that's the same as a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. Now, think about what she just said there. We're talking about body parts, and she takes this analogy that a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders, which does what? Dissects chickens. And she uses that analogy.
Yes.
She uses that analogy, right? Nobody in the liberal media talked about it. I've seen it out there. It was posted mostly conservative media. Like, what a weird, sick analogy to use, the dissecting of chickens versus the dissecting of unborn children, and nobody seemed to have caught it on the left. Actually, they're cheering at this Clinton rally because it's such a, pseudo-intellectually charged thing. That's how liberals think. I don't know. But it's that kind of stuff. So we listen to somebody like Donald Trump out there telling us what his argument is right now. The person with the most votes should win. The person with the most votes should win the nomination, not the most delegates. The person with the most votes. If that's the case, why do we need a primary to begin with? If it's just going to be who's the popular guy, we don't even need a primary.
Well, that's the same as every time you ever hear and say we're a democracy.
Right,
exactly. We are not a democracy.
Right. And when you listen to our president talk, every interview you'll listen to him talk, he will talk about advances or progression in our democracy. He never uses the word republic. Nobody, even the conservatives don't use it. Everything, they don't use anything. They say government. It's not even, they don't even try to identify it. It's either the institution, which is the Republican Party.
Yeah, it's this big Leviathan thing that just sits out there and it's just there to gobble up your freedom and money.
Yeah, the entity, the institution, which is the party, or the government, which is the government, okay? And there's no real identification with being a republic. It's all about, the half-baked conservatives out there.
Yeah, because truly, the government is us.
Yeah.
The people. But no, not according to those guys.
Not anymore. The government is our providers, and in some cases, our God. And we're just supposed to fall in line. And the very people that do this will accuse those of us who resist or oppose it as being, we're the sheep. We're up here saying, no, this is wrong, this is wrong. We're the extremists. We're the true believers. We're the ones that are off kilter. But the ones that will follow people like Donald Trump over the cliff as he plays his tune, I'm going to make life so great you're not going to be able to handle it. And yeah, okay, it'll be real good until you hit the bottom of that precipice out there. So anyway, I'm just beginning. I'm getting warmed up here because I'm livid. I'm livid.
I could get you really going. Jeb Bush. There, I said it. There now, John's going to be ready.
Oh, that's a low blow. Okay, we got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue here. I just want to really just spend some time today just speculating on some things. When we come back, I'm going to take an article that was sent to us by somebody at Shake and Wake Radio, one of our affiliates out there, and it's called. It came from a publication called the Daily Sheeple. And it's the weirdest possible outcomes for the strangest election in U.S. history. But you're going to see as we read through these things, none of these things are outside of the realm of possibility, given the electorate that we have today, the ignorance and the willingness for people to give up their security and liberty for the promise of being taken care of. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours.
Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
All right, hey, we are back, and I have caught my breath. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And as we get deeper into this conversation today, I want to read you a short post that was put out on Facebook today by one of my good buddies out here in Orange County, a Republican operative. He's been in the system for a very long time. Has actually run for Congress a couple of times, and it's just I respect this man immensely because he's one of these few people. There's a few people out here in California that have retained their affiliation with the Republican Party, but still stand for true conservatism. And obviously, by doing so, he's run twice for Congress, has not won because he has not had the support of the establishment out here, but he's a man of his word. I think a man that is worth knowing. And I'm going to not give his name just out of respect because I don't know if he would want me to read this, but I will. He says, "You can almost smell the fear in the air. Establishment Republicans, China, Mexico, and many conservative publications are coming to the realization that Donald Trump may actually win the nomination. I don't know who is most surprised, them or Donald Trump. But in all that being said, change is in the air. 50 years of politically correct speech, the lie that that is man-made global warming, attacks on the First and Second Amendments, and the loss of opportunity for the working class has created an anger that is bubbling to the surface. Change will come from the election of an outsider or the theft of the election by insiders. Either action ushers in change. For the first time, I have a better understanding of how the founders of this country felt when they launched the revolution. Freedom feels good, but it is never free." I think a very profound statement and very accurate in terms of what we're facing today. Change is in the air, and it's going to come. It's going to come through the election of an outsider or through the stealing of the election by the insiders. And I think no truer analysis of what we're seeing today can be offered in such few words. So having said that, what do you get out of that, Joe? I mean, does that impact you at all?
I think, yeah, that does impact. It is very, I think, very true. Change is going to happen. That's just the Republican eyeball on it. And change will happen on the other side. If Hillary's elected, or I can't see Bernie Sanders being nominated and elected, but change would be happening. It would not be. It would be continued. The continuation of Barack Obama's third term, and let's not forget the Supreme Court is a lifetime.
Right.
You and I won't. Whatever happens with the next with this election, you and I will not outlive the changes done to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and it is a
outlive that. My grandkids might outlive it, but we won't outlive it, and so there is big change coming.
Yeah, obviously.
Very, very important. They say every one of these elections is important. Really, if they were that important, some of these people would have woken up 8 years ago and started going, whoa, what do you mean there's an election? Who's this guy? This guy's only been in, he's just a senator. Who's he? Oh my goodness, he hung out with Bill Ayers. Bill Ayers, he tried to blow up police departments and stuff in New York and D.C. and stuff. Oh, who is this guy? Oh, he was raised by communists in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Oh, Frank Marshall Davis, who the hell is? Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah. Who is this? Yeah, who is this guy? And then we got Trump.
Yeah.
And like I said, the 7 stages of Trump recovery. I sent you that little thing.
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
and pretty funny, but pretty true.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like I said, most folks are in that anger stage, and the anger stage is hostility towards the one who told you, towards Trump for lying, towards yourself for falling for it, and it's like, hey, I didn't tell you just the truth.
Well, and that's the thing here. When you talk about this anger thing, see, the anger is what's driving everything right now. Now, anger, when it's channeled in the right way, is a very good attribute. If you can see the writing on the wall and say, wait a minute, this is not right, this is not good, and you can use your anger towards that and be able to say, hey, this is what we need to do to change this. But what we see today, the difference between anger in the direction that the country is going and anger at the people involved, there's a difference there. Let me just expound on this just for a second here. There's a difference between recognizing the situation and becoming angry at the person who has perpetrated it.
Yeah.
Than being angry at the situation itself and doing something to change it. Because if you're just angry at the person that has brought this upon you, that's not going to change anything.
No, that's going to bring you Barack Obama.
Yeah, and because one of two things I have found about taking offense to things. 80% of the people don't care whether you're offended or not. The other 20% are glad to see you going through it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, what you have to do is be able to grasp the reality of what's going on. You have to gather your reasoning, and you have to say, okay, how do we go about setting this back to the right course? That's not what's going on right now in the Republican Party. The Democrat Party, I just leave them to their own resources because their people are too stupid to understand what's going on anyway. And it doesn't.
Yeah, they're just talking. They'd be talking to a brick wall with those folks.
Yeah, so I'm going under the assumption that most people are quote unquote Republicans because they have some sense of empirical reasoning. They can look at the evidence and say, "Oh, this needs to change." And for the most part, I think most of the Trumpsters out there are like this. They see it and they go, "Oh yeah, this guy is saying what I believe, and he's calling for what I know to be true." Unfortunately, your ignorance factor of just grabbing onto this guy's coattail and saying, yeah, Donald, take us wherever you want to go, is wrong because you have no idea where this guy wants to really take you. You have nobody has yet to give me a good explanation as to why Donald Trump, who doesn't need to do this by his own admission, why is he doing it? Is it because he wants the country to be great again? No, I really don't think so. Not when you spend 40 years supporting the people that brought us to this place. I can't buy into the argument that he wants to make America great again. There's got to.
I think it's John to save his own hide, and I say that because without, if he lets somebody else take this election, especially a Democrat, he knows for a fact that they're going to take him down.
Yeah.
They're going to take him and all his buddies down. Everybody that's like him that has wealth in this country will be brought to their knees.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's just out of own self-preservation.
Yeah, and I think it's that to me it's and self-preservation along with the same narcissistic grind that we have in our current president. This idea of just thinking, I can do this because I am who I am.
Yeah, that's just an added bonus, I think.
Yeah. And, I put up a cartoon the other day that, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's a funny movie. My favorite character in there is Groot.
Yeah, the tree dude. Yeah.
And I just think, that I put up a little cartoon. I put Donald Trump's face on that. I am Trump. That's the mentality. I am who I am. And, everybody else is left to decipher what that means. Okay, I say I am Trump, and everybody hears however hits their head, and it processes into I'm the answer. I'm an idiot. Whatever your views are on Trump, it translates or processes that way. But anyway, I want to. Oh, we got to go to break here. It's already time's flying. I must be having fun today because it's going by so fast. We're going to do a commercial. A couple of commercials here. When we come back, I'm going to get into this list. I want to get into this before the first hour's up here, just to put some levity into the situation here as the big New York bomb gets set to hit us later on tonight. And we'll see Donald Trump at his press conference in full angelic display, rising above the world and the common people, and espousing how great he is tonight once he wins this thing, because I think he'll win in New York. I don't think there's any question of that. Anyway, stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Okay, hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, my co-host and partner in crime. Let's get into this little piece here that was sent to us by Rick and Annie over at Shake and Wake Radio. And I've been looking at it over the last couple of days, and as is normally the case, I've got to find the right time to put this stuff in. Sometimes I want to do something right away, but it takes us so far off where we're going at the moment, so I have to wait. Everything's a matter of timing. And I think that's really evidenced by the fact that we've got what we've got going on today in the electoral process. The timing of Barack Obama, which has led to the timing of Donald Trump, which has led to the timing of our eventual imminent demise if we don't change this. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. Maybe we need to go into captivity before we understand or appreciate the value of freedom. But anyway, this is an article that came out of the Daily Sheeple, written by Brandon Smith back on April 15th. That was last week, Friday, I believe. And I'm not going to do so much. I'm not going to read so much of it in terms of the introduction to what he is putting out here. But we're talking about choice. And we're talking about the everything that's out there that people are looking at today, and the lack of understanding what the choices really are and how they came about, and what their choices will do in terms of the effect, cause and effect of doing, what the choices they make today. Everybody's talking about, the great change Donald Trump's going to bring. You have no idea what that change is going to look like. The only thing we know is that if Bernie Sanders gets elected, that he's going to do everything in his power to turn this country into a socialist republic, or probably a socialist democracy. I'm sorry.
If Bernie Sanders gets elected, our economy is going to collapse.
Yeah. And it won't be from anything he accomplishes, because I don't think Congress would go along with it. But just being there is going to send ripples through the economic community internationally.
Barack Obama's mandates and just do executive orders and get the unilateral EPA and those just go run amok all over businesses and just drive the economy into the ground.
I think Bernie Sanders' objective in his agenda will be to dismantle Congress. It won't be anything else. And by doing that, everything else just kind of falls into place.
Congress would wake up to that.
Yeah. The very people that think they're preserving their own status will be the first ones to go. Shoot all the lawyers first, okay? Okay. But I'm going to read just a couple of paragraphs here from this, and I'm going to get into these different scenarios that Brandon Smith over at the Daily Sheeple has presented to us. He says, today, elections represent the illusion of choice. That is all. The leadership of both major parties seem different in terms of their rhetoric, but this is all cosmetic. Underneath the talk, Democrat and Republican leaders are nearly identical in their support for bigger government, more centralization, less constitutional protections, more globalism, more power to international banks and central banks, and less transparency and accountability. I have a very accurate description of what we refer to when we talk about the establishment. The establishment are players. They're not partisan. They play both sides as if it's all one, and it's been going on for decades now. And it's just with the election of Barack Obama, everything came to the surface. But unfortunately, the momentum has been going so much for the progressives over the last 4 or 5 decades that it seems at this point almost unstoppable. And I don't know if it can be stopped, but it remains to be seen. Now, for many decades now, the choice has been between the puppet on the left hand or the puppet on the right hand. This year is proving to be a little different, at least on the face of things, to the point where elections are becoming rather surreal. Okay, all right. Now, for the younger generations with limited experience participating in the world of U.S. elections, developments today might seem odd but not outlandish. I would not agree with that, because I think most people, especially in youth today, don't understand it anyway. They have no understanding of what's going on here, or they wouldn't be supporting Bernie Sanders, for crying out loud. But anyway, for older generations of Americans, a consensus seems to be forming, and the concerns commonly expressed in the mainstream and on the web appear to match. 2016 is turning out to be the strangest presidential election they have ever seen. Now, I want to get into this. I like the way this writer highlights the candidates involved. He says, look at it this way. We have Trump, who is an attack dog candidate, who ends up in the news every other day for something he said. We have fully exposed international criminal in the form of Hillary Clinton. We have a full-blown socialist named Bernie, whose supporters make up a majority of the crazed social justice and cultural Marxist crowd. And we have Cruz, a pro-Constitution, anti-bank candidate with ties to those same banks and ties to the anti-sovereignty think tank, the Council of Foreign Relations. Now, I want to make a stipulation on this. I looked this up because I've not heard in the past of Cruz being directly associated with the CFR. And what the writer is inferring here is his wife, Heidi, has ties with Goldman Sachs, which would be the banking implication here. By the way, rightfully so, $500,000 loan that Ted Cruz obtained from Goldman Sachs and was never reported. Points for the liberals, the hypocrisy, okay, score 1. And Heidi Cruz served as what they call a term member of the Council of Foreign Relations back when she was involved, or back during the George W. Bush administration. But she did represent the conservatives that were there. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of how that plays out. I know very little about how the CFR actually functions in terms of meetings, conventions, and all that other stuff. But she was there as a representative of conservatism. Now, based on what people call conservative today, that could mean anything. I don't know exactly what that means. But I wanted to clarify that. It wasn't that Ted Cruz was directly involved, but has indirect connections through his wife. I just want to clarify that because I'm biased and he's my candidate. And I want to try to defend him as much as I can there. I've taken him to task several times over other things, but that being what it is. All right, now, we might be able to get through the first one, maybe the first two here on the list. And I'm going to give the thing, I'll give it, and then I want you to comment on it, Joe, because you have a tendency to think better, clearer off the top of your head on this stuff.
Okay.
Okay. We could end up with a 3 or 4-way race. Trump has suggested in the past that he might run as an independent candidate. All right, let's say the convention comes and goes and he doesn't end up with a nomination. He decides to run as something other than what he has registered as to run for president. The same thing with Bernie Sanders. There's talk out there that people are saying if Sanders doesn't get the nomination, I'm not voting for anybody. And Sanders is being pushed to go third party if that happens.
Please do that, Bernie.
Yeah, I hope he does. I mean, it really wouldn't bother me if either one of them do.
Well, it bothered me if Trump went to third party.
Well, I don't know at this point that it would really make any difference because just based on what you said, Joe, before, the idea that Trumpsters are going to follow Trumpsters and Sanders people are going to follow Sanders. So what have we really lost? We're back to the lesser of two evils in the Republican and the Democrat Party, right?
Well, look at it like this: if it goes that way, Bernie goes third party and Trump goes third party. Yeah, you can have both of them do it. We could have the 4-way race. That would be awesome. But just to have one, have Bernie go third party, then that splits the Democratic ticket, the votes. Those people aren't going to be out there voting. Bernie doesn't have all that. Bring him to the polls, Bernie. Go ahead. Let's see how you do that. That ain't going to happen.
Yeah, I can see that, and that's why I'm bringing this up.
But if Trump does it, now that makes it much easier for that criminal that should be in jail right now for selling U.S. sovereignty to whatever foreign entity has hacked her private email server. Mm-hmm. That just makes it easier for her to win.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm bringing this up here. We're entertaining this. We're speculating. What's it going to look like? What would it look like if this kind of thing happened here? The thing is, to me, is if the Sanders people are that sincere, and they say, if Sanders doesn't get it, I'm not voting for Hillary. And so Hillary doesn't pull in that demographic. She doesn't pull in the youth vote. She doesn't pull in the disgruntled, disenfranchised Democrats, which there are some out there, believe it or not. So I'm not so sure that, whereas if Trump pulls away from the Republican Party, I'm not so sure that the number of people that he would take with him would be enough to offset something like this. I mean, numbers-wise, I think we would just basically be kind of back to square one. That's just my tossing around in my head. It would seem like, okay, we'd have Sanders would get the Sanders people, Trump would get the Trump people, and the Republicans would vote for whoever the nominee is on the Republican side, and the Democrats would vote for whoever is on the Democrat side.
But to get full-blown conspiratorial here, this guy says, I believe the winner of the election is already predetermined.
Yeah.
Well, then, it's like, why bother with, he's in the court of why even have elections. This is just more than kabuki theater.
Yeah, and to me, the real big thing would be here is if it turns out that Hillary does, if there is a recommendation for indictment, and they pull Uncle Joe out of the old farts home, and they float him up there as a candidate through superdelegates or whatever. Now I think there's a dynamic here that would just wipe all of this clean. Because I think if they put Joe Biden on the ticket, believe it or not, I think he'd walk away with this thing. I think he would walk away hands down, and he would just sweep everybody because he's well liked.
He's a plagiarist.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether he's ethical or smart or anything else. He's well liked. You know, he is the reincarnation of Bill Clinton. He would win just on that. I believe that. I think he would. And it would be if Joe Biden comes into this thing somewhere down the line here, I think it's all over.
I wonder what our friend Ron Edwards would think to this.
Yeah, well, that's just me. That's just the way I'm looking at it. Anyway, we're at the top of the hour here. We got to go to the Edwards Notebook, and then we'll be back and we'll talk more about things that could happen, possible scenarios here in the weirdest election we've ever had in America. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Certain people do not believe in God, but they certainly want to act as if they are. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards on today's page from the Edwards Notebook. Whether it's progressive professors swearing to their students that there is no God or President Obama proclaiming the United States is not a Christian nation, they themselves and others act as if they have the sovereign authority of God to reduce the human population to a level they deem acceptable to their warped view. Individuals like Bill Gates and John C. Holdren, the lead science advisor to President Barack Hussein Obama, and many others highlighted in the Negro Project, a sterling book written by author Bruce Flory, in which he accurately chronicles the efforts of many who, in my opinion, wish to play God over we the people of America and others the world over, in their mad mission to depopulate the world of many humans via the United Nations Agenda 21. It includes, for now, voluntary cooperation of signatory states. One of the biggest efforts of Agenda 21 is to reorient all humans toward a more one-size-fits-all, rights-inhibiting series of restrictions under the guise of protecting the environment. Wake up, America. Remember, those who deny the existence of God are most likely to deny your unalienable rights. I'm Ron Edwards.
Catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
All right, hey, we're back. Hour 2 here at the Conservative Syndicate, and I'm glad you stuck around. If you're just joining us, this is the Conservative Syndicate. I'm John Matthews, your host, man's prophet of the airways, on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state, along with my co-host, Joe, You Can't Handle the Truth, Hakos, and we do it through education, information, and engaging you, our listening audience. Now, we were talking just before the break about these scenarios coming out of, what's this guy's name again? Brandon Smith over at the Daily Sheeple. And I thought it was very appropriate to just look at this stuff, because the more I look at it, I don't see any of these things completely out of the realm of possibility. Given what's going on today, when you take into effect the desperation of the establishment, how they feel threatened right now, that somebody like a Donald Trump or even somebody like a Bernie Sanders could really throw a cog into their works, or a wrench into the works, I guess, whatever term you want to use there. And when you look at the stupidity of the American voter, there's no nice way of putting this anymore. I keep rolling this around in my head, trying to think, how can I be more gracious in addressing the ignorance of today's American voter? And there is no nice way of saying it. You either know or you don't. And, people that are deceived are people that don't know what they don't know. And there's a lot of people that don't know what they don't know out there campaigning for some of these people like Trump and Sanders and even Clinton and even Kasich, for crying out loud. If you can really tell me that you're a true believer with John Kasich, I'm sorry. You're like one toke away from a lobotomy, in my opinion. So,
and you're seriously in the tank for the establishment. I mean, when I say the establishment, I mean the party elitists.
Yeah, there's your true believer in that regard there.
Yeah, I mean, you are John. You should clone. You believe that we should clone John McCain and Mitt Romney and have their unwed children come out and run for president.
Yeah. That would be the prevailing ticket. Let's pull back in John McCain and Mitt Romney because they're so damn popular, and they have such a chance of winning. So.
Yes, absolutely. they can't lose. Then really and with their little Bob Dole on top of it.
Yeah, the apple dumpling gang, that kind of thing. Okay, we had talked about the four-way race. That's where we got before the break here. Yeah, the idea that our outsiders could possibly, since they're being treated so bad by the establishment, end up going their own way and running third party. Bernie Sanders, I guess, what he should do? He should run, if he runs third party, hook up with Roseanne Barr. And there's your VP nominee right there. Now, you know why I say that? Do you know in the 2012 election, Roseanne Barr and Cindy Sheen, right? They ran on some weird ticket. I don't know, the American Liberal asshats ticket or something like that. And they came in 6th place. Can you believe that? that they got enough votes to register 6. There were actually 26 people on the ballot in 2012 running for president, believe it or not. And Roseanne Barr and Cindy Sheen, white trash with money, I think is how Roseanne Barr once described herself. I'm your worst nightmare. I am white trash with money. And they came in 6th place. Now, I don't know if that means, 14 votes.
Yeah, exactly. What I mean, 6th place of.
But 6th place is
what
6th
relatives?
Place, Anyway, okay, so 3 or 4 way race. If the 2 outsiders, supposed outsiders, go third party.
If they hold true to what they've been saying, and which is what I mean, Trump has people out there supporting the fact that he wants people to stop the Colorado and Wyoming delegates from going to Cleveland for the convention.
Yeah.
I mean, actually have people out there working towards that.
Yeah, and he has actually referred to the idea that if he doesn't get the nomination, we're going to have riots and this, that, and the other. Whereas, on the other hand, if he gets a nomination, we're going to have riots. It's just a matter of what group is going to riot.
Yeah. Who's going to be really upset to want to go burn it down?
So, so that's interesting in that regard. But here we got, I think if that did go that scenario, it might just be a massive crapshoot. Who knows? Who knows how that would, we've got enough people. It's not like when Ross Perot ran as an independent. There weren't enough people that were open to, discarding the establishment and jumping onto a new train going down the track. But now, who knows, man? We've got conservatives that don't even know what conservatism is. We've got Republicans that are telling us that it's okay. Rhino really represents the Republican Party. We've got the leftists out there in the Hillary camp that don't know their head from their butt, and we've got the Sanders people who are saying, "Hey, let's burn it all down." There's enough factions out there that who knows how this would work out.
It'd be hard to say with a 4-way, but whatever. I think. Look, these people don't have enough gumption, they don't have their acts together to go work out of Colorado to get votes and work on delegates, or even get themselves registered so they can vote for their daddy in a presidential race.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to try to get to that at the bottom of the hour here when we get through this. And I want to talk about this delegate makeup. Joe and I received something today that I just think is just outstanding in terms of actually explaining how the delegate process works. So we're going to try to share that with you. I'm going to be winging it because it was just sent to me just before we came on the air. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Right now, we're in a short segment here. Got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
And we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos, and I want to get into this article. I know, sometimes I feel like our show is like some of these soap operas that are out there, where you get to the point where the villain is about to be revealed or caught or something like that, and then they go to a commercial break, and then you come back and there's a little bit more, and then they go to another commercial break. And you're sitting there going, come on, let's get on with it. That's what it is. So anyway, it is what it is. We got to pay bills. That's the way it works. Okay, now, the second scenario here given to us by Brandon Smith over at the Daily Sheeple is that the delegates choose a candidate that does not represent public wishes. Now, this is the scenario that's being floated out there the most by the candidates themselves in that way, and of course being fed to the media, who in turn is feeding it to the enraged masses that are beginning to gather out there across this land of ours. Okay, so it says here, contentions are increasing over the existence of superdelegates in the Democrat Party, which are delegates that are basically representatives or operatives of the DNC party. And by that meaning that most of them are actually like public officials, office holders, things like that. And they have been chosen to make sure to preserve the establishment on the Democrat side, as Debbie Wasserman Schultz said, to ensure that no grassroots candidate, that the leadership would not have to deal with a grassroots candidate, which is who Bernie Sanders is. So the idea, I think it's like 435 superdelegates or something like that. And I'm not sure if that's the exact number, but it's a hunk. And most of those delegates at this point in time have voiced their leanings towards Clinton. Now, I heard a scenario this morning in which it's being projected out there, it's being talked about, that Bernie Sanders could end up with the most delegates through the primary process. And because believe it or not, his favorability rating right now, he's only 2% below Hillary Clinton in terms of what the country thinks nationally. That's what the polls are saying. I don't know if it's true or not, okay? But that's within the margin of error on any poll. And so we could say, in terms of what the national polls are saying, this is a dead heat in terms of delegates, actual delegates that are being accumulated through the actual delegate process, the primaries and caucuses. The superdelegates are unbound. They can go wherever they want, and most of them, for the most part, have been bought and paid for, okay, by the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
So the idea being is that Bernie Sanders wins the nomination through the delegate count, or Donald Trump wins the nomination through the delegate count, or as he's claiming right now, the most actual votes, the total number of votes that are being cast, and he's got the most. And in the minds of these candidates, they think that they should be the nominee, and the party comes up, the establishment comes up and says, nope, we're going to do it our way. And you have, the outlandish side on the right is what? Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney or something like that, or, John Kasich and Lindsey Graham or some weird combination like that. So it says here with the superdelegates, we have the Democrats would use superdelegates to ensure that Bernie Sanders doesn't make it. The Republicans, the conversation is always about changing the rules, that they can up until 24 hours before the actual convention, the Rules Committee, I believe it's 112 people or 120, something like that.
Yes, but it still has to be voted on by the delegates themselves at the convention, John. So the majority of the delegates still have to vote on the rules changes.
Okay.
Now you just go out and change the rules and that's it.
Right. Well, and let's look at that scenario for a second here. One of the interviews I saw the other night, I think it was on Megyn Kelly. I've been watching her a lot lately because as much as I dislike the woman, I have to say some of the people she's brought on her show are relevant and worth listening to. And she brought on, I forget her first name, but her last name is Romney. And she is the head of the Republican Party in Michigan. She is Mitt Romney's niece.
I'm going to say, sounds like a relative.
Yeah, okay. Now, total establishment. And she does not deny that she's establishment. She is the niece of Mitt Romney. She was selected and elected as the head of the Republican Party in Michigan because of her ties to her uncle.
Yeah,
okay.
Sounds familiar.
Okay, now what was interesting was she said that when she goes to the convention, that her vote as a delegate, she's also a delegate, will go to Donald Trump because the people voted for Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
And she said, and so Kelly was saying, well, is there any way that you would, change that vote? Like if we got into the third round or fourth round or whatever. She said, well, as far as I'm concerned, personally, I will cast my vote for Donald Trump. And the reason I will do that is because as the head of the Republican Party, I have to worry about my integrity. There's an establishment thought. I have to preserve my power and my base and everything else that I've accumulated. So I will stick true to what my constituents have said they want me to vote. Not that, and so she's like, well, are you for Trump? She says, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant whether I'm for Trump or not. You asked me, how am I going to cast my vote?
Absolutely. That's absolutely irrelevant. She's basically hired to do a job.
Right. Now, that's quite a bit of honesty coming out of an establishment type. But my point being is that this woman would be one of these delegates that would have to vote on rule changes, and I'm not so sure under those circumstances would she be as true to her position of integrity. If they said, well, here we have a chance to undo what you went on Megyn Kelly and talked about being adamant about doing because your constituents said that's what they want. But if you were given the opportunity to change the rules that would then negate your obligation to vote that way, would you do that? See, these are the things that these delegates are going to have to face. Did
she get asked that question and did she answer it?
No, she didn't ask that question. No, I'm hypothetically here based on what you just said.
Still it takes the majority of the delegates there to vote and pass the rule changes.
Okay, now, the thing is that delegates that have pledged, let's say there's a handful, let's say more than not, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. More than not of these delegates would vote the way that they have been told to vote because of the outcome in their respective primaries. But
this is what, just on rule changes, or this is on just in general?
No, I'm taking your scenario here. We're taking this idea that the Republican Party decides, okay, we have to preserve ourselves. That would be the motivation for it. Self-preservation. We cannot allow Trump to take the nomination.
So they'd have to do, well, if Trump gets to 1237, then, hey, he's got enough delegates there that when they call the roll to be the nominee, period. If he gets to 1237, this whole...
Well, yeah, if he gets to 1230... If he gets to 1237, the argument or the conversation we're having right now is moot.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I'm talking about if he doesn't. Okay. And we're getting into the contested, brokered scenarios, that kind of the Kasich thing, the Kasich factor. Okay. And so we're sitting here now, coming into the convention, and Trump is the number I keep hearing out there. Let's say 100 votes short, 100 delegates short. Okay. He's 100 delegates short. He's going to come barreling into the convention saying, I have the most delegates, and 2, I have the most votes. Okay, he's going to try to. He's going to.
That second part means absolutely nothing.
No, but that's the angle he's going to play because he's already playing it. That's the angle he's already playing.
That means absolutely nothing. He's got the most delegates, but he doesn't have enough to have a majority. Now, what he needs to do then is work the room, get his people to work the room, and get enough people to put him over the threshold needed.
Yeah, and now let's say we're hyphenating here. We're saying hypothetical. He starts working the room, and he presents both of these arguments. I've got the most delegates. I'm only 100 short or whatever. I've had the most total votes, and let's say that it sways enough delegates to go the other way.
Okay.
The question I have, or the question I'm presenting is, would the integrity of a pledged delegate be so important if they had the opportunity to change the circumstances in which that integrity did not matter anymore?
Some of the rules dictate that they up to like three votes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That they maintain who they were sent there to be pledged to. After so many, after the rules, and it varies by state.
Yeah,
so,
I think in your state, I think in Florida, the delegates that are pledged are required to stay with that candidate for at least 3 rounds, and after that, it begins to dissipate somehow.
Yeah, then they become free agents or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So it does make a difference, but each state is a little different.
Yeah, so
they play within their rules. They do whatever they're supposed to do.
Yeah, so what I'm getting at here, if given the opportunity of somebody who is a delegate who claims to be a person of integrity and honesty and going to represent their people based on the rules, and we get here 24 hours before the convention, and these new rules are thrown up there that allow those delegates to completely disregard what their constituents have told them simply by changing the rules, do they have an obligation to stay faithful to their constituents if the rules can be changed? That would allow them
rules again. It requires a majority of the delegates to pass the change to the rules.
Oh, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. Do you think the possibility exists that because the delegates would be the ones to make those changes or vote on the changes, that they would completely disregard what their constituents have pledged them to do in order for them to do what they really want to do?
Oh, sure. Anything's possible. It's just a matter of the fact, are they going to be allowed to do that?
Yeah, well, and whether or not, whatever the outcome would be. Okay,
yeah,
again.
Anything's possible. You know, they elected Bill Clinton twice and Barack Obama twice.
Yeah, I get that.
Anything's possible.
I'm just saying, in the desperation.
I used to say we put a man on the moon, so anything's possible. But
Yeah, I get it, and I totally agree with you. I'm floating this out here because of the desperation of the establishment. If they had that out, if they have that ability to change the entire atmosphere and scenario, would they remain loyal the way that they say they will, or would they sell out? And that's the hypothetical that we're looking at here within this particular scenario. Whether if the candidate, the delegates choose a candidate that does not represent what the public wants. Would the Republican Party, would the delegates who are right now pledged to go whichever way their states have designated them to go, through whichever process has taken place, if they had a chance to override all that in order to preserve their place as the establishment, would they do it?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's hard to say even on the Democrats. The Democrats have just the same problem.
Right. I agree. Because the talk I'm hearing out there is Sanders is set, and he's got the money that he might be able to sway some of these superdelegates.
Yeah, it's very, very possible. And if justice be served, and Hillary gets indicted or recommended for indictment or whatever Comey does from the FBI, it'd be hard to say what happens with the Democratic Party nomination fiasco. I don't know. These people just I keep waiting to see. It's more like Dancing with the Stars or something. I keep waiting.
Yeah. Well, I was watching Shepard Smith today, and they were talking about what these candidates can do to wine and dine these delegates. It's amazing. They can be legally bought. It's amazing It's amazing what I heard today with these people talking about. There's rules as to how they can be bought, but they can be bought.
Yeah, that's been like that forever, John.
Yeah, and that feeds into the argument that I was making at the very beginning of the show.
Yeah,
that Donald Trump's claim that everything is rigged is legitimate.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
but then again, he already knew that going into it.
Yeah, and that's the other point. That's the other side of it. You knew it was rigged going into it. In fact, you've been part of it, for crying out loud.
Absolutely part of it on both sides.
On both sides. We got to take a break here. It's time for Moments of Madness. When we come back, we'll get into the other scenarios here. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And don't go away, because we're still going to cover a little bit about how delegates are actually designated. We're going to pick a couple of examples out there because, as Joe said, it's quite different depending on what state you're in. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate, Moments of Madness. Today on Moments of Madness. Donald Trump's current claims after his loss in the Colorado caucus that the establishment has rigged the primary against him is nothing more than political theater to keep his sheep enraged, the media entranced, and his opposition neutralized. Trump and his campaign people knew the rules, or should have known them. These rules Colorado has employed to pick their nominee have been around since 1912, so the idea they were designed to keep him from obtaining the required 1,237 delegates is as absurd as his candidacy itself. The fact there are those in Colorado now claiming disenfranchisement only exemplifies the Gruber theorem. The stupidity of the American voter is in full effect. That said, what does bear noting, what continually upsets the GOP political establishment is not Trump's audacious personality, his confrontational demeanor, or his lack of political understanding of policy outside the concept of deal-making. They have shown a propensity for working around ineptness for at least 5 decades now. What upsets the establishment is the fact Trump is an establishment type who has decided to double-cross his, up to this point, pretty much out-of-sight co-conspirators. The fervor that now runs as rampant through the GOP establishment as a streaker at the Super Bowl reminds me of the second adaptation of the movie The Manchurian Candidate, released in 2004, starring Liev Schreiber as former Sergeant and now Congressman Raymond Shaw, Denzel Washington as Major Bennett Marco, Shaw's former commanding officer, and Meryl Streep as Congressman Shaw's mother, Senator Eleanor Iselin. The 2004 film updated the conflict and brainwashing to the Persian Gulf War in 1991, emphasized the science fiction aspects of the story by setting the action in a dystopian near future, coincidentally implied to be 2008, had a U.S. corporation called Manchurian Global as a perpetrator of the brainwashing and conspiracy instead of foreign communist groups, and dropped the Johnny Insulin character in favor of making both Shaw and his mother elected politicians. What I am reminded of when analyzing the current establishment reaction to Trump, and even Cruz to some degree, is an almost eerie portrayal of Shaw's mother, Eleanor, as an establishment type, willing to sacrifice her own son as a means to an end in the plot to have her own son become president by placing him on a ticket as VP, only to have the newly elected president assassinated on the night he wins the election, thus placing him in the White House, complete with a brain implant that causes him to do whatever his programmers want. I'm not saying Trump is a Manchurian candidate by any stretch. If he is, somebody certainly crossed their wires. I do, however, contend Trump is actually an establishment type that has decided to double-cross those with whom he once conspired, in this case the GOP establishment. In much the same manner, Congressman Shaw programmed his own assassination in lieu of the president-elect to put to an end the conspiracy to take over the government via a coup when he discovers he's being played as a pawn. It remains to be seen if Trump actually makes it all the way to the White House. I can't help but wonder if he does, who among the elites will be the one called to duty to take him out? Who knows? But then again, with all this going on, both sides of this contest, we might discover Uncle Bernie is really the Manchurian candidate. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
We're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate. I do want to remind everybody we do have a website. It's called theconservativesyndicate.net, and you can, at your leisure, visit it and find any of our shows, our archives. Everything we do on this show is documented. We are transparent as can be. And you can go to our website. We hide nothing. We edit nothing.
And it didn't cost billions to put the site together like it did the Obamacare site.
Yeah, it cost me $47 to put this site together, and it is one of the most transparent sites that you'll ever get your hands on.
And it works.
And it works all the time, every time. Hey, I want to continue this segment here. I'm going to read you a clip, or I'm going to read you a blurb from a publication. And I'll just throw it out here into the air, and I'll give you the opportunity to answer for the public, Joe, since we don't have the public online here. I'm going to read you this, a 2-paragraph blurb. And what I want you to do, Joe, is identify for me who it is about. All right?
Okay.
A political outsider is defying the odds, slaying establishment foes, and attracting huge crowds of rowdy supporters, enthralled by his slogans and his pledge to restore American prestige. The insurgent candidate travels the country making bold denunciations of the Iraq War and China's treachery on trade, of the special interest and lobbyists corrupting the will of the people, while promising to save Social Security, to put an end to government waste, and rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. Who made that? Who wrote that? Or when was it written? I'm sorry. When was it written?
God, It sounds like something that the illustrious Donald Trump would have said, but I got a feeling it was written way before then.
This was written in 2008 about Barack Obama. This was the narrative of the media back in 2008, Barack Obama. I was looking at, during the break here, I was looking at this. This is from Red State, Caleb Howe. Trump is Barack Obama. Obama is Donald Trump. And it has a video here of all the things that Donald Trump has said, and laid right next to it is all the things that Barack Obama said in his campaign, and they are almost verbatim, word for word.
Well, it's very similar, isn't it? I said before that the yes we can and make America great. It's a slogan, Aaron, to the max, and it was like, where's the beef?
Yeah, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it on. We're going to use it tomorrow. I'm going to play this. I can't do it here because, like I said, I just got this stuff just before we came on the air, so I didn't have a chance to put it over into an MP3 file that we can throw on the air here for people. But we'll do it tomorrow, and you'll see the similarities here. That's why I think a lot of what Trump is doing has actually been a planned strategy, and it was just a matter of if it goes this way. Like this thing with the primaries right here, votes versus delegates. It's like as long as we're winning and it looks like we're going to, just schlong everybody and we're going to walk away with this thing early on, we won't say anything. But since now it's becoming a little bit of a contest, at least in the eyes of the public, one way or the other, that there's a new strategy here. Trump's got a new campaign manager. And he's actually trying to organize a little bit right now. Everything up to this point has just been his personality. I am Trump, that kind of thing. So
hear me roar.
Yeah. So all right, let's get back.
It's huge.
Huh?
It's huge.
It's huge.
I mean, yeah, I get you. I'm just.
I saw something on Facebook today. Somebody took one of Anthony Weiner's phone photos.
Oh God, no!
And they put Donald Trump's head on it, and the caption underneath it. You can tell it was taken on a phone. It's like how I've never done this, but you take a picture of the mirror. You look in the mirror, and then you take a picture of the mirror. That kind of thing.
Yeah. You're a little. The selfie's gone bad. Yes.
Yeah, Anthony Weiner. With Donald Trump's head on it, and it said underneath it, "It's huge."
Oh, jeez. Yeah, Homa's husband. Let's remember who Anthony is.
Well,
that's Clinton's second in command. That's her husband, the Wiener.
Well, one thing I have to say is one thing that really I like about America that I'll probably never get tired of. Is we do have a very warped sense of humor at times.
At times we certainly do. I mean,
all right. We left off with possible scenarios here, extreme scenarios, but not out of the realm of possibility given what's going on today. With the delegates choose a candidate that does not represent public wishes, and like I said, that's the common narrative that's being floated out there right now. Now, these are some of the scary ones, but again, I don't think out of the realm of possibility. Because there's already been talk about it. One is a convention-inspired conflict and riots.
Oh, yes.
Okay, now we've already had this in the past. 68 convention was probably the most notable or the most remembered. The Democratic National Convention in Chicago, which actually one 17-year-old was actually killed for being out after curfew. And apparently when he was accosted, he pulled a gun on a cop and ended up dying. But over 500 arrests, a lot of bad blood, a lot of things happened during that convention.
You had reporters being accosted on the floor of on the convention floor during that convention.
Right, and listen, the most important point to make about this particular convention in '68 was it was a contested convention.
Yeah.
It was a contested convention. Hubert Humphrey was the equivalent to Hillary Clinton. He was the establishment choice, had not even really been campaigning, but had all the establishment in his pocket. But they had an upstart come along by the name of Robert Kennedy. And Robert Kennedy was gaining ground on Humphrey very fast, and he was assassinated, and it sent everything into overdrive. So,
yeah, 68 was just one of those years.
Yeah, it was just one of those bad years, and that was also where we were introduced to the Weather Underground, Bill Ayers' organization, the Black Panther Party. That all these organizations came out of that convention. So we can thank the Democrats for that. Community Organizing 101. Now. And we've already heard Donald Trump tell us that if he doesn't get the nomination, if he's cheated out of it, that there could be riots in the street. We've already heard Black Lives Matter and MoveOn.org tell us if Trump wins the nomination, there could be riots in the street. And where else better to go than to the conventions? It's going to be, it'd be, in this case, Cleveland in the Republican convention. I don't know if they'd have a riot. I don't know. Bernie Sanders people could get pissed off enough. They're the ones out there disrupting everything on the Trump side. That's not to say they wouldn't do that if Hillary wins the nomination, don't you think?
If someone knocks over their bongs, and knocks all their water out of their bongs, their bong water all over in the streets,
that's right.
Anything could happen,
Yeah. We could have college kids en masse defecating on American flags.
I think what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to have a safe space for these people at the convention, because someone could hurt their little itty bitty feelings.
Oh yeah, or they could bring the Baltimore mayor in and designate a certain spot that people can destroy.
Oh yeah, here's a place to set your things on fire.
Yeah, and we'll even provide it.
Only here though.
Yeah, government subsidized looting so that you can destroy and burn.
Yeah, where is the Democratic convention this time?
North Carolina, I believe, isn't it?
Is it in Charlotte?
I'm not sure. It's something to look up. I think it's in North Carolina.
Well, the only place it would be then was probably Charlotte then.
Yeah. We'll have to look that up because
I know the Republicans are going to Cleveland.
Yeah, I didn't plan on going, so I didn't really care where they're having it.
Yeah, the Democrats, it was like, okay, is it in the country? It could be in Havana, for who knows? I mean,
could be in Cuba.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, well, the free tickets to the ball game down there.
Yeah, you can get all your free Che T-shirts and stuff,
Okay, so the possibility does exist that we may see some violence if one side or the other, or both. Wouldn't that be something? Donald Trump doesn't get the nomination, Bernie Sanders doesn't get the nomination, and we have both conventions being overtaken by rioters and protesters.
No, that'd be just absolutely awesome, except for I know people going to Cleveland, so I really don't want that to happen.
Well, just think of this, though. This is a media.
These are nice people, and they don't need to be in
mainstream media wet dream.
Oh my goodness! You can see your buddy. You were talking about Shepard Smith, and he would just sensationalize it to the nth degree.
Oh, what about Wolf Blitzer?
Oh my goodness!
Oh man, I mean that guy would be having orgasmic throws all during his show if he still can do that. I don't know. Certainly, Chris Matthews would have more than one thrill going up and down his leg.
The only TV host that has to take a little pill before he goes on air. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, they might even bring Diane Sawyer out of retirement, get her schnockered, and send her down there.
Hey, I really like the next part of this article, John, which is the surprise combined ticket part.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what that means. Well, we're going to have to take a moment here to think that over here. We do have to take a short break here. We went over again. We'll be right back, guys. Stay with us. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
All right, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And, well, I don't know where that... I'm getting these little utteral tones in my voice here. I'm beginning to wonder what's going on here in my head. I don't know.
It's Robert Cardosa.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Well, it could be black speech from Lord of the Rings too. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about the weird scenarios from the Sheeple, offered to us by the Sheeple, Brandon Smith at the Sheeple, the Daily Sheeple. I'm sorry, I want to get the name right. And we left off here with before the break here about a convention-inspired conflict and riots, meaning that one or both conventions could end up with some, unruly people showing up because they didn't like the results. And that can happen on both sides because there's just enough ignorance out there, guided and fueled by anger, that could happen.
Oh, yeah, and the press has been eating this up. Every time you see a report, it's these angry people. The people are angry. The Trump people are angry at this and this, they're angry at Cruz people, and these Bernie people are angry at Hillary. It's like there's anger everywhere. Anger. It's like, really?
Everybody's pissed to the gills. And
otherwise there'd be fires everywhere on every street corner right now if it was like the press wanted it.
Yeah, now, the next one we have here is, I think, kind of a long shot, but still possible because of the players involved. A combined ticket. And what this is about is that the people within that are running right now decide to join forces. I can't imagine Hillary Clinton wanting Bernie Sanders as her vice president. I just can't imagine that. But who knows if the forces be determine that she's not going to be able to somehow capture those who are supporting Bernie Sanders, because they're a lot of them out there claiming they won't vote for Hillary or they won't vote at all. It's either Sanders or nothing. And on the Trump side, there's a lot of people actually believing if Trump doesn't get it, they'll vote for Hillary, believe it or not.
Those people are just plain nuts.
Yeah, and a lot of those people are establishment types. And why would they do that? Because, as we said, the establishment doesn't care who's in the White House.
But those, I don't think there's. I think that's just basic foolishness.
It's a possibility. It's a
possibility. It's just like, hey, well, do you think that you think just for the sake of we need to win, so we must combine our forces, and so the Cruz and Trump get together, and the Hillary. I don't know about the Hillary and Bernie thing. That seems a little weird, but the possibility. The Cruz and Trump people together, it is possible. I could see that happening. Stranger things have happened in our political histories.
Well, I do know Ted Cruz was asked. He's been asked several times. I heard him on with Hannity, and that idea was floated, and he said outright, "I have no interest at being a VP with Donald Trump." Now,
absolutely. And what would he say? I mean, he's got donors has committed to him.
Yeah.
So what would he say? Exactly that.
But
for crying out loud, that's how this is played. But
would it eliminate the possibility of a Cruz Trump ticket? If it's the other way around, if Trump was going to be the VP, who knows?
Well, it comes to the fact that, hey, Donald, it looks like you're not going to win here in the 19th ballot at the convention. How about this? You take second fiddle to somebody for the first time in your damn life. How's that one, Donald?
I think the more realistic scenario at this point would be something like a Cruz Kasich ticket.
Jeez.
Because let's look at the scenario. Let's look at the facts. What we have right now.
It could happen, but
we've got several establishment types that have thrown their weight behind Cruz. We've got Mitt Romney, both of the Bushes, Jeb and Neil Bush. We've got Lindsey Graham, through his 2 votes towards to Cruz. And now, so those are establishment types, and
yes, they are.
And we know that Cruz's explanation is unification of the party.
Yes.
All right? Now, what I could see happening at this point is saying, well, in order to further appease the establishment, because Kasich is the establishment candidate at this point, all right? I've had people say, well, what if they drag Jeb Bush back? And no, Jeb Bush isn't going to do it.
Because we would, if Jeb Bush was going to do it, it had already been done that's what all this was done at the beginning. And I'm sorry, but Jeb just didn't have it, and rightfully so.
He's damaged goods just like Mitt Romney is and John McCain is. He's out.
I mean, crying out loud, we had 2 Bushes being presidents already. We weren't going to go for a third one. I said that 8 years ago.
But the scenario I heard last night floated, I forget who it was some commentator I'd never heard before. And he brought up we could have a situation here. John Kasich took Ohio. Okay, that's 60 some odd electoral votes.
Yes.
Right? Now, hear me out here. This was the same scenario in which Lyndon Johnson was chosen to be John Kennedy's vice presidential candidate because they knew the election was going to be close. It was Nixon actually won the popular vote. Kennedy won by 3 electoral votes.
Yeah, he needed the South, and that's the reason why he picked up
needed the South, and they took Lyndon Johnson because he carried Texas. And so we're looking here at a very similar scenario where popular vote might go one way or the other, but electoral votes-wise, 66 electoral votes is a big number if this comes down to a very heated, close contest. So let's throw Kasich on the ticket as a VP in order to bring that in. And the same thing with maybe Rubio. Maybe they resurrect Marco Rubio and say, hey, let's bring him in on the ticket, and we get those delegates. Well, he didn't win any delegates in Florida. Okay.
That's Trump called the delegates in Florida because it was a winner-take-all state.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean,
we won't get into that.
So the idea of combining the forces is not so unrealistic. Where I think it's more unrealistic is when we look at Hillary Clinton conceding that Bernie Sanders controls a large part of the electorate and saying, okay, let's bring the old fart on as a ticket, that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm still playing this. I still see this in my crystal ball. Julian Castro is going to be the VP nominee. I'm going to stick with this because I'm not hearing anything about it.
Yeah. That makes sense. It really does.
Yeah, well, they've got to do something. Especially if Ted Cruz ends up with a nomination, they've got to cancel out that Hispanic vote, bring on Julian Castro.
Yeah, because the Democrats are always good at identity politics. Yeah. So okay. How about the next couple of things we got there because we're running out of time really fast.
Well, let me get to the one that I have floated on the show several times. And I kind of just forgot about it. We'll skip down to this one here. A postponed election.
Yeah.
Okay, extenuating. Remember, I've floated this idea that perhaps the plan here is to get things so chaotic and we have so much violence and everything going on that Barack Obama stands up one day and says, you know what, we can't have an election. There's already been Democrats that have been talking about this.
He can't just do that on his own, though.
Yeah, let's suspend the election in lieu of all the things that could happen and all the violence that might be taking place and everything else, and I'll just serve a third term.
Yeah, well, he can't do it on his own. He's going to have Congress do it.
Well, a Congress that does nothing right now.
Well, I understand, but they have the authority. Obama can't do that on his own.
Okay, well, but we're talking about a Congress that is guided by the establishment who is in self-preservation mode.
Yeah, I get that. It could be, but do you imagine how dark things have to get for that to happen?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just
be one step away from out and not riots and war, a civil war in the streets. Basically, I mean that's how dark things would have to be.
Oh yeah, and but I think even with something like that, now we go into a combination of all the other things: riots, violence, and all the other stuff, which leads to another one here on the list here: possible civil war.
Yeah,
Could happen. Guess what, guys? We're out of time. We're going to close the show for tonight. Visit us at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We'll be back on the air tomorrow, 3 o'clock out here on the West Coast, 6 on the East Coast. And we'll have more enjoyment for you right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you all. We love you.
for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.